Hello and welcome. My name is Paul Waelchli. I'm a reference and instruction librarian at St. Norbert College in De Pere, Wisconsin. What I want to talk about today is video games, and video games as a practice of information literacy. But for today, what I want to talk about is video games as a daily example of information literacy. The intent is to make information literacy real for our patrons and our students. That these are not foreign concepts that only live within the realm of academics, but these are real-life practices that they are employing. Information literacy is alive and well within a variety of games. If we work our way through 4 of the 5 ACRL information literacy standards, we'll see a variety of examples of how these standards, indicators, and outcomes play out as we look at some specific game types. The first information literacy standard, the information literate student determines the nature and the extent of the information need. They're basically identifying what information they need, where is that gap, and how are they going to be able to fill it. There's a variety of games, any genre that you'll be able to think of. In order for a player to progress through a game, they've got to identify what those goals are, what information they need to accomplish those goals, and then begin to seek out that information and apply it to get to the boss, to open up the new puzzle, to get to the next level, to win the game. Whatever type they're playing, that type of identification and information need is very relevant and practical within those examples. The first example that we see here on the slide is Okami, which is a PlayStation 2 and Wii game, kind of adventure game very similar to The Legend of Zelda, where you play as a mythical wolf, kind of steeped in Japanese mythology. You've got a series of attacks and puzzles and skills that you learn as you go through. And the idea of information literacy here is that the information literate student considers the cost and benefits of acquiring the information needed. In any type of larger adventure game, Legend of Zelda, Okami, there are a variety of different skills, traits, abilities that a player can develop or gain. And so as a player, you're determining the cost of that information, the cost of acquiring that. Do I really need to spend the extra side quests in order to gain the extra money to buy that new armor? Do I really need to complete the extra side quests in order to unlock that new skill? Or can I continue to progress through the story and finish it that way? The same idea of defining the costs of acquiring that information can play out not only within the game, but outside of the game and in a larger gamer context of using peers, websites, printed magazines, cheats and walkthroughs in order to figure out where to go next, how to get that extra piece, how to complete the matching set of armor. Acquiring that information may be very simple, and it may be not very costly, but it may be very time-consuming, depending on the type of information you're looking for. So as a player, you're identifying and making choices about that information. The second game we're looking at is Madden. Football games, any type of sports games really that involve the player in a deep kind of franchise mode where you become the owner, the coach, making decisions not only about what plays to call and strategies within the game, but also your roster and movement both in and out of the season. Whether that's basketball, football, baseball, hockey, soccer, even NASCAR and golf still have some kind of those elements of strategy within them. And the example here is that realizing that information may be constructed with raw data and primary sources. That just like any sports fan, a lot of sports analysis is spreadsheet reading, is looking at statistics and raw data to determine trends and projections and player strengths. As you're a franchise owner, as you're the GM of your team, whether you're signing or hiring new agents, whether you're trading people, you're looking at that raw data to determine your strengths and weaknesses of your team, the strengths and weaknesses of the players that you're trying to acquire and trade for. So you're not simply going by what the automatic programming within the game gives you, but you're constructing some of that data itself. If we move on to ACRL Standard 2, the information literate student accesses needed information effectively and efficiently. An example here is Halo 2, and Halo 3, and the whole Halo franchise, also a variety of online first-person shooter games, whether that's Call of Duty or Team Fortress. But you're identifying gaps in the information retrieved and determining if that search should be revised. When you're playing online against a variety of people, there's a continual information gap, whether that's in the map that you're in terms of the geography, topography of the map, in terms of why is somebody able to snipe at me, where's my blind spot, what vantage point am I going to be able to get in order to be successful in a team match. What's the cost of acquiring that? If there's, again, if you are in a competitive online match and you're trying to take the high ground, there may be a serious cost and respawning cost of getting there in terms of being shot and having to start back over, losing a life within the game. But you're determining those information needs, whether you're continually assessing and analyzing those gaps and trying to find ways to fill those. Moving on to Standard 3, we're looking at the information literate student summarizes the main ideas to be extracted from the information gathered. So they're able to summarize and apply that information. Here, if we look at Halo Wars, a game from just this year, but a real-time strategy game, again, kind of military, many times historical based, but often sometimes fantasy based as well, but you're dealing with armies and strategies and different types of units, whether they're aerial units or mechanical units. Oftentimes there's a lot of rock, paper, scissors kind of equations that go in terms of archers versus spearmen versus cavalry, and which ones are more effective against others. But the information literate student synthesizes main ideas to construct new concepts. As a real-time strategy player, you're looking at that board, whether that's on a traditional board game, whether that's a board of chess, whether that's the virtual board within your television as you're playing a video game. That you have this block of information that you're using to try to put all those concepts together and then determine new ideas out of it, new strategies, or pulling in all the types in terms of the number of units, the different types of units, the location of those units, the topography of the land in terms of if you're going to be able to quickly move or transverse it, or if it's going to be slow moving across it, and how that affects your units. But pulling together all that base of knowledge in order to make new concepts, in order to draw conclusions. In standard number 4, we're looking at students, either individually or as a group. They use information effectively to accomplish their specific purpose. That if we go back to what video games are, and the core of information literacy is that information need and finding a way to apply it, that this standard looks at students. The other example, the other game of this is the Burnout series. Here's another indicator from Standard 4. The student reflects on past successes, failures, and alternative strategies. That in the screenshot here from Burnout Paradise, as I'm flipping off in the distance and losing the race, there's a lot of continual reflection and assessment that goes on within video games. That it's not just whether or not you lost your 3 lives, or you died against the boss, or you lost the race or the football game, but there's a lot of reflection and assessment that's going on throughout that whole process. That players are continuing to grow, and in order to be successful in games, in order to advance in a game, there needs to be a level of reflection and assessment and determination about those failures and those successes. We've got a variety of examples where information literacy meshes up really well with many different genres, from sports to action to adventure to first-person shooters to strategy games. And again, the nice thing is that these are experiences that are common to our patrons and our students. That while the language of the information literacy standards may not be very common to our students and may not be very common to all of us, the concepts, the core of those applications are. And the benefit there is that now our students have a vocabulary, have an experience, a life experience to tie that into. To tie into those information literacy standards, to tie into those skill sets, so that as they're looking at it and as we begin to talk about it, it's not a foreign or distant concept, but it's something that they've actually been doing for a while. We're just equipping them with a different vocabulary. So hopefully this gives you a couple things to think about in terms of a new way to look at games as not just an entertainment pastime, but also a way to build community in a social environment, but also something where there is some active learning going on and some learning of some skills that actually are very valuable to us as librarians. So thank you for your time, and we'll see you again.